In the spirit of postmodernism, we're not going to have a classic art encounter today. What we're going to do is we're going to have an example of structuralism. So here we have a Rubik's Cube, and you'll see that this Rubik's Cube is all mixed up. Yeah. So I've spent a little time making sure that it's mixed up. I like to bring the Rubik's Cube as an example because I can solve the Rubik's Cube, but when I solve it, I always solve it in the same way, in the same sequence. There's a way that you can mix this up where whatever arrangement it's in, I'll then figure it out if I go through a series of steps and a series of things I want to accomplish, stages of solving the Rubik's Cube. Now, several things to know about the Rubik's Cube is there are 6 sides. So we have a top, we have a front, we have a bottom, we have a right, and we have a left, and there's also the back side here. You'll notice that in all of my movements, I tend to never use the back. You know, what I tend to do is like I'll move it so that I have something facing, and I'll manipulate the other sides to get the result that I want. Yeah. We're going to use a word called algorithm, and algorithm is a kind of formula for how to move through a series of steps. So there are algorithms for how to solve this Rubik's Cube. I always say that dancers can learn to do this because it's really 7 phrases of movement that you have to learn. And once you learn 7 phrases of movement, you need to learn the stages. Now, sometimes it's a little tricky because it takes a lot of practice too. It's like doing a dance, that it's not only learning the phrase of movement, but it's practicing it so that you can get it correct. Hopefully I can do that today here. Okay, another thing about the cube is you'll notice this middle part. The middle part tells me what color that face should be. So here, this is red, and you'll notice that this is red and this is yellow, and that tells me that this piece here should be red and yellow if it's correct. In the same way, when I'm here, this is green, yellow, red, that this piece should be green and yellow and red. So because of that knowledge, I can then find that piece anywhere. Here's this green, yellow, and red piece here that actually belongs, I then know, over here in its correct arrangement. So that's kind of a fantastic thing to know, and because you need to know that in order to solve this cube. Okay, great and wonderful. So stage 1 begins, I always begin with the green side. Oh, and one other thing to tell you, I always know things like the green is opposite the blue. Yeah, and the orange is opposite the red, the yellow is opposite the white. Those things are pretty classic in this classic colors of Rubik's Cube. Now, there are some cubes that are out there on the market that also manipulate these colors and change them. But if you look at a classic Rubik's Cube with the old one with the stickers, it's always green opposite blue. So that is another thing that helps me solve the cube. Now, the first thing I want to do, stage 1, is I want to start with one side and I want to get a green cross. Now, I'll say this about the cube. Most people who try to solve the Rubik's Cube, they do it incorrectly. What they try to do is get one side. And then once they get one side, they say, oh, okay, now let me do another side. Sometimes that works and they can get 2 sides, but then it becomes infinitely impossible to get a 3rd side. I've never seen someone be able to get 3 sides of a Rubik's Cube without having it messing up one side as they get another one. So that becomes a thing. If we solve the Rubik's Cube, you'll notice that I solve this green cross, then I get the corners, which ends up giving me like the bottom of it. So this one layer of the cube, and then I do the 2nd layer, and then I do the 3rd layer. So it's, in some ways, I think of it like a building. I get the bottom floor, the middle floor, and then I get the top floor done. Yeah, so we build it in that way. So I'm going to start with the very bottom with the green. I want a green cross, and what I want is that I get this cross, but the side pieces make sense. So what I'm doing right now is I'm looking for, see how this is green and yellow. Now I know that if I move this just this way, I've matched this green and this yellow up, and then I can move it here. I have now put that piece where it belongs, where it's green and yellow. Yeah, that's one. This one is an orange one. I'm going to match that to the orange here. I'm going to move it to the top here. And now I have this green and yellow and the green and orange. Okay, we're doing pretty good. Here is green and white. Move that to its place. Now, this one's a little trickier because it's the wrong way. So I'm going to do a little fancy move there. And now, if you look at my cube, you'll see I have the green cross, and the sides all are the correct color. All right, so that's perfect. Yeah, that's stage one. I sometimes tell people who are wanting to learn it, practice that, you know, and after you can do that and always do that, then go on to stage two. So then learn the second phrase. Okay, now I'm going to try and find these corners. So I'll look for one, like I see this, see how this is green and red and yellow? I'm going to move it, so I'm going to find, oh, this green, red, and yellow belongs here. So notice I put it in this bottom right corner. Now, here's an algorithm. So I know the formula that if I keep doing where I move the right, the bottom, 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 you'll see that this eventually moved from here to here, and it kept moving up there, and then it finally got in the correct arrangement where that's correct. And you'll notice I didn't mess up my green cross and these sides. Okay, now I'm going to do another one. This one's actually right where it needs to be. This green and red and white, but I need it to go up here, and I know that I can just do the right, the bottom, the right, the bottom, and I just did that once and it got there. Okay, now you'll notice this was a happy accident. This went into place by its own. And it was like, so I look at that and I say, great, less work for me. All right, here, this one is here. And then if I know if I keep doing right, bottom, 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 suddenly that's in place. You'll notice I got this whole green side, but everything is where it needs to be so it all matches. So this is what I mean when I say that if I flip it, this bottom of the building, this whole part is correct. Yeah. Now, the next thing to do is I'm wanting to get these four corners on floor number 2. And another happy accident, which happens on a Rubik's Cube, this one got in its place. So this is correct, and I know that the reds match and the yellows match there. So we're perfect with that one. Now I look at this and I say, wow, this is the piece here, this red and white, that needs to go right here. Yeah, and again, the middle told me that. Now, what I do is I move it so that the white matches up here. What I'm wanting it to do is this piece to just fall this way and get to this place. I then use another algorithm, which I am moving the upper, the right, the upper, the right, the upper, the front, the upper, the front. And you'll notice that it moved into place. Now, if you're watching that slowly, it probably looked like I was mixing it up, but then it all came back into place where it needed to be. So again, that's the great thing about the algorithm of knowing it, is I didn't even pay too much attention about what was happening. I just did the step, and the step worked out okay. All right, now I'm going to look for a piece that needs to go to one of these other places. So here's this orange and this yellow. That's great because I know that it needs to go here. And again, it's the same thing that I did before. Now, sometimes if this were the opposite way, I'd put it here and I would do the reverse of the phrase to get that. Maybe that'll happen on the next, but For this, I need this to go like we did last time. So I'm again moving the upper, the right, the upper, the right, the upper, the front, the upper, the front, and that's in place and correct. And now I see there's only one other corner. It's here. And look, it's the exact same thing as the other one. So again, upper right, upper front, upper front. And now what I have is that the bottom two floors of this building are correct. And it's just the top floor. Okay. Now I have another formula because the next step is with the blue side, I need a blue cross on the top. Yeah. So I notice things like, see how this is just like a reverse L. So there's a formula that I can, that I'm going to use for this where I move the front, the right, the upper, the right, the upper, the front. And I knew that would, when I did that, I'm now going to get not an L, but this straight line here. And then I know that if I do this one more time, I'll get the blue cross where I move the front, the right, the upper, the right, the upper, the front. And sure enough, here's my blue cross. Okay, I paused a second here because I actually did the little formula incorrectly. So let me try it one more time here. So I got this exactly where it was before. So the red and the white here are correct. So now I know that if the red is facing me, I do this formula where I move the right, the upper, the right, the upper, the right, the upper, and the right. And there you see that the white's moved over here, but I want to do that again. The right, the upper, the right, the upper, the right, the upper, the right. And now you'll see that the red and the yellow are correct. And if I flip this one more time this way, and I do that formula one more time, the right, the upper, the right, the upper, the right, the upper, the right, and I do a quarter turn, what you've seen me do now is the red is correct, the yellow, the orange, and the white. So now I have the blue cross and I have all of those corners. So again, I'll show you the formulas that I'm using here in a moment if you care about it. And anyone who is in my class, you know, you can get a Rubik's Cube. And typically when I'm teaching this class face-to-face, I give everyone a Rubik's Cube and let you take it home and let you practice these things if you want to learn it. I've had very few people actually learn the Rubik's Cube. But again, the biggest thing I wanted to teach in this is that idea of structuralism and that idea of these formulas that I'm using to solve the problems. All right, now what I'm doing is I'm going to look at my cube and see these corners, and you'll see that none of them are really correct. Yeah. But I look to see, is any of them in the correct arrangement? And I say, no, they really aren't. Now I'm gonna use another formula here, and I'm gonna move the upper, the right, the upper, the left, the upper, the right, the upper, the left. So that's mixed up these four corners, and you'll notice that I haven't mixed anything else up, but it just gave me the possibility of moving everything. Now again, I look to see, are any of these correct? And yeah, lo and behold, see this one, even though it's in the wrong arrangement, this cube, this part of the cube is in its correct place. It's just in the wrong place. The main thing that I want in this step is to get these four corners in the right place. Now, that last little formula I used, I'm going to keep this one here in this bottom corner, and I'm going to do it again, where I move the upper, the right, the upper, the left, the upper, the right, the upper, the left. And you'll see that this is fine. These three, no, still not there. So why not? Let's go again. Upper right, upper left, upper right, upper left. And here Yeah, I'm not good here. This one's correct. So let me keep going. I'm going to shift it this way. Upper the right, upper the left, upper the right, upper the left. That's shifting that way. So actually I'm having a little problem with it, but let me just look. Any of them correct? No. Okay, I figured out. I think I'm doing it, and some of it is because I'm looking at the camera. So let me try it this way. Looking at it, just really looking at the cube. So if I move the cube here, again, I'm looking at the red side. I'm moving the upper, the right, the upper, the left, the upper, the right, the upper, the left. And then I'm looking to see, are any of them correct? This one is correct. Okay, I'm going to put that in that bottom corner. I'm going to do the exact same thing again. Upper right, upper left, upper right, upper left. Okay, this one stayed where it needed to stay. Let's see. These are not correct, so I'm going to do it again. Upper right, upper left, upper right, upper left. And I think, yes, now I did it correctly. So what I've got, this is correct, this is correct, this is correct, this is correct. They're just in the wrong arrangements. So now I just need to flip them. But that's an easier process. Now, if when you're looking at the whole thing, this is kind of fun and actually a good teaching moment, because what I did was I did the formula incorrectly. What I was actually doing was moving this counterclockwise rather than clockwise. So I was getting the formula incorrect because I was looking at it through the camera. So once I figured that out, then I'm now back on track and I got this correct in the right arrangement. Okay, now I'm again doing that first thing that I did where I'm moving this right and the bottom one just to rearrange these and get this in the correct place on the top. So again, the right, the bottom, the right, the bottom, the right, the bottom, the right, the bottom, the right, bottom, right, bottom, right, bottom, right, bottom. I'm moving this one over here, and then I'm going to keep going. This is the part that's always fun, and everyone thinks it's like it looks crazy what's going on and that I'm mixing everything up. But actually, I'm getting everything back where it needs to be. Then I'll do this one. And then if I have a quarter turn here and a quarter turn here, you'll notice that my cube is now correct. Okay, I'm going to cut away, and here are the formulas that I used. And you can see, looking at the formulas, that I'm indicating which sides. I'm indicating what I'm moving, the upper side or the bottom side or the right or the left. And also you'll see where I'm going clockwise or counterclockwise. And again, this is a series of formulas and algorithms for solving a Rubik's Cube. All right, so when I'm not talking, I usually try to solve it in like 3 minutes, yeah. But what's cool about this is talking you through it so that you can see what's going on logically in my head and how I move everything and what formula I use to move it. And again, the cube is cool because it is like the human body where it moves in 3 planes. Yeah, so that is a cool thing. My goal now is to fast forward and do this in fast speed so that you can see the various parts come together, but without any explanation, just to go through the solving of the Rubik's Cube. Here we have a Rubik's Cube that has been mixed up. I actually got lucky on that one because when I got the last corners in the right place, they ended up rotating to the right position so I could skip the last step. Brilliant.